Hiya, welcome to Paranormal Versus. I'm Kell Ridley, and this is my co-host, Michael Kopf, and basically this is our premiere of our show, so please be kind. um, we're basically what we're doing is wanting to do is like Michael's from the USA and I'm from the UK, so we want to compare like what the paranormal is like from over there to over here. So that's what we're planning to do. We've got guests coming up for the next few weeks, some from the UK, some from the USA. So tonight we're just going to come on, introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about our experiences and what we're doing, stuff like that, just to get the ball rolling and like I say, introduce ourselves and see what happens and have a laugh along the way, hopefully. So, Michael, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Like to just start out with, I am so honored and blessed to be on this show with you and co-host with you.
Thank you very much.
So my paranormal background is a little different than a lot of people I've dealt with. Is I've had experiences since I was 2, and I've come across shadow beings and had other experiences later on in life, but I never thought they were paranormal. I always thought they were just something like maybe spiritual that was unique to me. And when I started paranormal investigating, I realized these experiences I had were paranormal based as well. And so it was quite interesting to figure out, yeah, I've grown up in the paranormal, and one of my big experiences was I had 4 years in a row where I had one paranormal experience that would kind of shape me to actually join teams and investigate, because I thought that was just something on TV people were paid to do and nobody actually really did it, and come to find out it's real and been hooked ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was young as well when the paranormal like started like appearing around me. I think I had something that happened to us when I know I had something happen to us when I was 6 years old, and that's my first memories of like being able to feel things around us and stuff like that, and I couldn't explain it. And as a child, you don't know what it is. You just think it's completely normal, as you said. So you learn to grow up with it. And as I tried to explain it to my parents, they didn't really understand. But my mum used to say she used to hear footsteps going into my bedroom at night, and she thought it might be one of my brothers. And she would check; they were both asleep. And she was convinced that it was my granddad for some reason, because she used to hear us talking, and then she used to hear a voice talking back as well. But when she opened the door, there was nobody there. So that's probably the first experience. The first apparition that I ever seen was when I was 9 years old. I was in a friend's house playing hide and seek in the dark as kids do. And I thought I seen my friend go into one of the back bedrooms. And when I went through, you could see what I thought was her sitting on the back wall. Went to put my hand, like to touch her, and my hand went straight through. So I freaked out and ran home. That was my first time I've ever seen anything paranormal like that. But it seems to follow you as well when you have like experience, when you're sensitive, especially. And like I say, I mean, I had experiences my whole entire life. And when I was at school, kids used to hand projects in about the pet cat or the dog or the rabbit, and mine was about ghosts. And that was from an early age. So, yeah, it's like I say, it just seems to have followed us. I became very spiritual in my teens, and I started like knowing things that other people didn't, and that continued all the way up until I had an accident 6 years ago on my spine, and then it just stopped completely, and it's only just starting to come back I would say the last year or two. So I was getting spiritual development lessons for a while, but as for the paranormal, I've been involved in investigating for years. I've been in part of teams for the last 12 years at least. I was part of a team called ASAP first. Then I left them and I went to Ghost Investigate, which is Drew Bartley, who he was on one of my other shows that I did with Stephen. He's absolutely amazing guy. He taught me a hell of a lot about investigating, and the stories that he tells is absolutely amazing. And then I went to NEPS with Glenn Richardson. And after that, I decided to start my own team with me and my best friend because it was easier getting around and going places. So that's what we're doing now. So that's my story anyway.
Well,
So
to piggyback, for me, paranormal based, it's only been maybe 4 or 5 years,
yeah,
and I was picked out of a Facebook paranormal group called Ghost Ship Hunters Quest,
right.
and the team was Dirty South Paranormal, and I investigated with them off and on for a year, maybe a year and a half. And then we parted ways because I had a different vision of, going to more places and collaborating with more people. And I didn't want to be locked into just one team.
Yeah.
And I have nothing but respect for them. And we parted ways, I think, on great terms. But then I started doing it on my own. And I have since investigated with Potter Paranormal out of Mineral Wells, Texas. All the teams I've done are pretty much based in Texas, or I found them online and are global. But there's Potter Paranormal. Sirens of the Expanses is a friend of mine. She's up north in the U.S., and I helped her with naming the team and creating and picking out what the logo should look like. So I haven't investigated with her yet, but I am totally looking forward to that on a road trip. We are really great friends, love her to death. She also has on Facebook Misfits Paranormal Research, which is a really cool group where a lot of people get together and collaborate, share ideas. And out of Mineral Wells, a friend of mine who owns a haunted location handpicked a bunch of investigators that she trusted to check out locations to see if they're paranormal active, or what's the history of, and she calls it the tribe, which I'm a part of, which is really cool. And so I also met a lady when I was investigating Broken Bow Asylum in Oklahoma. And little did I know when I met her, I would not only be investigating with her team, which is Southern Fried Spirits Paranormal, but she is also my co-host on another podcast show.
Right.
So that is the expanse of my paranormal background, as well as I mentioned, I'm still a part of the Ghost Ship group.
Yeah. Awesome. That was really brilliant. I'm just going to jump over to the comments here. Hello to Paranormal Portal to the Paranormal. Thank you for welcoming me. And Linda Judd. She was basically saying she's always wondered how UK folks handle the paranormal. A lot of would get scared and run away. No. Hello, Raymond Newsom. You have to excuse me. I haven't got my glasses on, so I'm struggling to read. Hello, Mr. Brian Laverty. I was on his show the other night. It was a really good experience and really enjoyed it.
And actually, we need to give a shout out to Brian as well, as he is the owner of our sister network,
Yeah,
Parapost.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Scott Matheson. I'm going to be on his show, and I think it's next week or the week after. And Call of the Crow, who's Nick. That's one of my friends. Hello. You should be at work anyway.
I think your mic is acting up.
Is it?
There you are. Up. You tapped it. You moved it. So while Kell works on getting her mic back, I can share with you my spiritual background, as I I was brought up with not the dogma, but with the more of a metaphysical background. And so I've learned Reiki and other healing modalities, and um, I think Kell's back.
Yeah. Does it work now?
Yes, it does.
Thank God for that. Typical.
All the joys of a live show.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, like I was saying, like some of the stuff that like we're going to be doing is comparing the UK to the USA, and I mean, you've got loads of stuff from like the Civil War and stuff like that, like history, and I mean, from my point of view for the UK, our history goes back absolutely thousands of years.
Oh yeah.
As I said on my show that I used to be on with Stephen Woodard, basically we've got a thing called Hadrian's Wall. It's like stretches from Wallsend on the east coast to the Solway Firth, I think it is, on the west coast. And it's like about nearly 2,000 years of Roman history.
Right. That was the border of Rome to Gaul.
Yeah.
And, well, not necessarily Gaul, but the Saxons to the north. And did they call them the Welsh? Was that
The
what was
Welsh were from Wales, so that's a bit further down.
I'm trying to,
Is
because
it not
like
the
in
Celts?
movies, yeah, the Celts.
Celts, yeah.
They also in some movies they use a W name, and I can't remember what it was.
I don't know the W name, but I know it's the Celts and the Picts. That used to be in the north of, obviously, like where Scotland is now. So it used to, obviously, to keep them out type of thing and keep them under control. So that's why they built the wall. But as I was saying, it runs directly at the top of my street. It runs under my daughter's house as well. So it's just to know that there's that much history right on my doorstep is absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah, I'm jealous. Man, I'd be spending all my time at that wall.
Yeah, I mean, in the street next to where my daughter lives, there's it's like a Roman temple. Oh, it's absolutely amazing. There's just like houses built up around it as well. So it's like to have that history right there. It's like I say, I'm absolutely nuts about history. I'm a historical researcher as well. So like I say, history is my thing, type of thing.
I got a history degree, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah. That's why I'm like looking forward to like coming to America to obviously study your histories as well. But like I say, England has got a lot. I mean, we've got castles that I didn't even know existed, like just around the corner from where I live as well. My friend taught us about it, and she's like works for the police and said you need to get yourself down there. It's absolutely amazing. Do like an investigation there. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just waiting to get me drone, and then so I can get like aerial footage of it. But like I say, you just don't realize around here what history is on your doorstep unless you really look into it.
Oh, I know. Now, is the Roman temple near your daughter still standing, or is it just the foundation and the ruins?
No, that's just the foundation. I think there's an altar stone there as well. But it's just to see like where it was and stuff like that is amazing. Yeah, really is.
Man, I'm just picturing, yeah, for thousands of years, people have been walking where you're sitting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
Yeah, it's pretty mind blowing. I do know that in where I live there's a castle called Newcastle, and that's what it's named after. And I used to work at a bar there, and I worked as a bouncer. Did that for 20 years, and down in the basement of there is an actual Roman road, and you can actually see the cobbles off the Roman road, like what they used to like walk on, and to walk in that, it's to know the amount of history there is. It's just wow, it blows your mind. And I actually had an experience there. I was doing a toilet check. I don't know why, but like toilets always seem to be haunted for some reason. It's always the women's toilets as well. I don't know
Water.
whether, yeah, could be. But I don't know why it's always the women's one. So, anyway, I went to go back up the stairs and I heard a pop noise, which was really strange, and it was like this black shadow figure at the side of us, and I freaked out, went to run up the stairs. Obviously, paranormal investigator, I shouldn't be like running away from stuff like that, but I wasn't expecting it, so I got afraid. Went to run up the stairs and I fell, hit the stairs and tripped over, face planted the stairs. Then I went to see the manager and like we'll look back on the camera and I reacted to something, but you could see static and that was it. And I would love to have that footage again, just to be able to show people what it was like and how I reacted to it and everything. But she said it happened all the time, the same thing. So,
Well, see, the funny thing about that is we like to say we would run towards it.
mhm.
There are times that it is the right thing to run from it. And so I would trust your instincts. And if your instinct said run away, run away.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the job I used to do as well, it's like I was meant to be tough and everything like that. And then it's like something like this, and that it's fight or flight. And from paranormal back then, I just used to run.
Yeah.
But
I,
not
I
now. I'm different now.
yeah, I've been on several investigations and I've been uncomfortable, but I haven't been around something that like made me run yet.
Mhm.
But I always tell people I'm sure the day is coming and I'm sure I will run when that day comes, but it just hasn't come for me yet. So fingers crossed, maybe I won't get one like that and maybe when I do I'll have the sense to run.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Bartley, my old team leader, he'll probably, when he comes on as a guest, he'll probably tell you about the story when I had a head cam on when I first, before I, well, I was my first investigation with them before I actually joined the team. And I had to do a lone vigil in Nelson, which is the Northeast Land, Sea and Museum. I probably got that the wrong way around. And I was alone in one of these aircraft carrier, like where they keep them, what they're called, a shelter thing. And
Oh,
I was,
airport hanger?
yeah, that's it, a hanger. I couldn't think. And basically, I'm sitting in there calling out, "Is anyone here?" There was meant to be a Polish prisoner of war, a spirit of him there, and there was nothing. And then all of a sudden, there was these three loud bangs, really loud bangs, and I upped and I went to run out the door, and there was a lip on the door, and I tripped over it yet again, face planted the floor, and then I'm thinking nobody's seen that. Dusted myself down, went to walk in, and then a couple of weeks later, Drew messaged us saying, "By the way, Kell, are you okay after that fall?" I'm thinking, "What fall?" And he was like, "You do realise you had your head cam on, didn't you?" We've got it on, like, obviously record. And I saw the scene, everything, so I felt a little bit embarrassed about that.
See, that's the funny thing about paranormal investigators. We always are like, we're reacting in the moment and we're not always graceful. And we always think, oh man, I'm going to be so judged for this. And it's like
Yeah.
everybody else is sitting there going, I'd be doing the same.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of were like are not very like tough at all, but it's amazing. Like some people, what they'll sit through. Some of the stories I've heard, and I mean, I've seen even the biggest men their legs turn to jelly and stuff like that with it when it comes to the paranormal. So you never know what you're going to do until in the moment.
I know. And I have a funny story about that is I was on a road trip with a friend from Holland. He created the ghost ship group that I'm a part of, and we were on an investigation. And to set the story up, when you're chatting online, you can build up bravada and, be saying, oh, I'm this or I'm that. But then when we actually got to a location, we were inside this abandoned school and I had just come out of the closet of a classroom where I felt like something was trying to push me through the floor. It didn't like me in that room. And so I go in the hallway and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you just missed it." I was like, "What?" He goes, "My hat flipped off."
Wow.
Nobody touched it. And I was like, "That is so cool." And why does that always happen when I'm not in the room?
Wow.
And I turned to walk to another classroom, and he's turning to walk somewhere else, and we both stop and look at each other and go, "Did you just hear this little girl's call my name?" And I said, "Yep." Mind you, we're being silent. We're like silently like nodding and communicating because you want to hear in case something else comes up. And then we hear this laughter, so we both bolt towards the laughter. I go out onto the balcony of this auditorium trying to figure out where it's coming from. And to shorten the story up, we get to the car after it's all said and done, and he goes like this on the top of my car, and he goes, "Thank you for not embarrassing me and running out when you heard the voice." And I was like, "I know." I was like, I was surprised I ran towards it too, because it's one of those moments where it's like you hear a disembodied voice. Am I gonna run or am I gonna stay? And it was interesting to figure out. I had stayed.
Yeah, yeah. I've got to say, one of the most harrowing experiences I've had. I used to part own a tattoo studio with an ex-partner of mine, and we were waiting for a guy to come in to fit the alarms, and we knew there was something in the studio. It used to turn down the music. We used to put the rock music up loud, and we had this like sound system where it didn't have a remote control or nothing. You had to physically turn it down, and it would, you could see it turning itself down, and we couldn't understand why it was doing it all the time. And then there used to be customers used to see people walking back and forward in the hallway with door. So we knew there was something in there. And anyway, this day I was painting the other part of the studio, and there was no customers in, nobody else in. And I turned around and there was a guy in the doorway, and I thought it's a guy to come fix the alarms. So I turned to him and said, "Just give us a second, I'll put the paintbrush down." And as I turned, he just like sort of evaporated. And at that point, I thought I was actually going crazy. So I thought my legs went to jelly. I thought, right, I'm freaking out here. It was an experience I can't even describe because you start to question your own sanity. So basically, I grabbed my phone and I ran out the door, and my partner was coming up the stairs, and he says he's never seen me as frightened as what I was. But I don't think I would have been as frightened as what I was if I had been with somebody else when it happened. It was just the fact that I was on my own and I thought I was losing my mind. But it happened to somebody else a few weeks later. They actually seen the same guy, described him down to a T. There was a music dance class in the other room across from where, and they basically came in and said the same thing. So it must have been the same guy. We'd done some research, and it used to be an old picture hall, cinema in there. And basically, so the music turning down, we think that was one of the usher guys or the manager trying to like say, "Shh, we've got to be quiet." I did have actually some EVPs from ESAP investigations. They came out, and you could hear them like a voice going "shh" on the EVP. So that's what we think it was anyway. So, and that's what got us into obviously being in teams. So
It is something to be said. I mean, me being on my own, we talked about. I'm used to it, so it's like I'm not too worried about going into locations. But there are some locations that I'm like, I'll get there and I'll be like, yeah, I better call a friend because I need witnesses with this one, or I need
yeah,
help because the one thing that as paranormal investigators that we cannot watch for ourselves is if something like attaches or messes with us, we don't see it because we're in the moment, listening,
yeah,
trying to get the evidence. We don't see it affecting us and our everything changing. And that's the important thing of why usually you need someone you trust or a group of people you trust with you is when that starts to happen, they can pull you out and prevent any harm to either to you or to them or anything. It's so you can investigate on your own, but there are benefits to a team.
Yeah, I mean, I used to work obviously, like as I've already mentioned, in security, so I'm very security minded. So it's like when it comes to investigations, I wouldn't personally recommend going on your own, especially if it's through an abandoned building or something like that, just in case something happened. But if you do, obviously let people know where you're going and what time you're going to be back. You know, in case something does happen, people will actually know about it. So that's what I think anyway. But I used to have a short-haired German pointer, and I used to work on a site what it said was haunted, and I used to take me jogging with us. He used to give us that little bit of feeling the security with us. But there was one part of the site this dog would not go. It would just stand there and hide behind my legs and wouldn't move. So, what's your thoughts on animals with a paranormal anyway?
I would say animals are more in tune probably than we are.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he wouldn't go in that room means that the energy was probably really bad, that there was something in there that wasn't friendly, and he's trying to keep you safe as well. And also, I feel like they have more awareness of what's going on around. Like, is this something that's residual? Is this something that's living there that's intelligent? Or
Mhm.
is it, what type? And I think they can react to that because if you just see him and if he was just sitting there looking, you'd be like, okay, well, we can go in and check it out. But because he was hiding, I would be like, no, we're not going in there. We can go over
Yeah.
here, we can go over there, but
Mhm.
whatever's there, I have a live and let live policy. You stay there, I'll go over here. I won't mess with you. You don't mess with me.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I mean, like I was on Brian Laverty's show on the 1st of January, and I mean I've got a huge dog. She's a Neapolitan Mastiff, and I basically think she was trying to steal the show, constantly walking back and forward and like wanting attention and nudging us and everything every 5 minutes. And it got to a point where she was keep nudging us that the camera fell off the stand. So today she's locked up in the sitting room, so she can't like disturb us tonight. But I mean, when I used to live in my old house, I used to live in a place called Alnwick, which is 47 miles north of where I live in Newcastle upon Tyne. I lived in a 300-year-old converted barn. It was absolutely amazing place, but it was really severely haunted. But the reason that I actually moved from there for is I was splitting up with my partner at the time, and I didn't want to live in that house on my own because of the things happening. I've actually caught
Right.
a picture of an apparition, a little girl with a riding cap on, sitting in the window, and I didn't think nothing about it at the time. I knew it was an apparition, but I didn't know nothing about this little girl, and it wasn't until I left the house that I was told that the little girl that lived there was riding a horse up in the alley, up in the little into the field, and the horse threw her and it killed her. So obviously she died with her riding cap on, which is what this picture that I've got is, little girl with a riding cap on. But my dog used to freak out in that house like you wouldn't believe. It's like she knew there was something there, and she used to like hide behind us yet again. And then it's got to the point now where we've moved down to Newcastle where we are now. And it's like if the curtains blow the wrong way, she's petrified or she won't go into a dark room and stuff like that. So I think the other house has had some sort of effect on her. So yeah.
It could be that, or it could be. I'm not a dog psychologist, but if it's a dark room, there could be something that happened to her before you got her that in a dark room, and that's why she's hesitant to go into the dark room.
Yeah.
But I would say the curtains blowing the wrong way is she just may be realizing there's somebody there, and sometimes they may not realize that we notice them realizing it, and they don't know, what's going on. And so sometimes I think if we comfort them and like ask them, what do you see? What, and try and, acknowledge that they are seeing what they're seeing,
Yeah.
I think that might help.
Yeah. I mean, with Venus, my friend, he's a Reiki master, obviously the same as what you are, and he used to say, "I'm going to do Reiki on her," because he used to come and stay for the weekend when we lived up in the big house to try and calm her down. And I was like, "No way, my dog is not going to let you like do anything like that because she's too excitable." And basically, he was doing Reiki on her, and she sat down on his knee. I mean, she's a huge dog, and I've got videos of this. And she sat down, she was so relaxed and calm. And every time he used to come, she used to just calm down straight away. And she doesn't do that with anybody else. So I do definitely think things like affect animals in different ways and, well, or sometimes the same as us.
Right. And just to clarify, because I know Reiki is a term that's used a lot and it's up and coming now as getting more traction. But so what Reiki is, just to clarify, is we believe there's an energy that flows through the entire universe, multiverse. Everything has energy.
Yeah.
So what we're doing as through Reiki is we're allowing that energy to come through us to help whoever we're working on. So we're like a conduit for the
Yeah.
energy, focusing it for a purpose, being healing or calming. And so that's why I think animals and a lot of people feel more calm with it, is because it's a comforting energy. It's
Yeah.
not just being blasted with energy and going, "Oh my gosh." So that's a little bit of why I think dogs and cats and animals react differently, is because they sense you're not a threat, you're not here to do anything, only to help, and they realize that and they're like, "Yeah, I want the help, so help."
Yeah. Yeah. Um, one of the things I was going to actually ask you about is what your thoughts on mediums.
So mediums, I believe, are real, and I believe they do have a connection. Now, is everyone that says they're a medium? That I don't buy into. And I have a couple of friends that are mediums that I would trust to go on investigations with them all the time. And the one thing they said to me is, if someone comes up to you and says, "I'm a medium," and says, "I've been reading your energy and I feel like I need to give you a reading," walk
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
The mediums do not approach you and say right away, "I need to do this." And one thing that people don't realize is mediums and Reiki alike, we don't read your energy without permission. We can get a sense of the energy, but we don't read.
Yeah. I mean, I've had quite a good experience with two mediums. One was Dan that was on my other show as well with Stephen. Basically, he was like helping us do the spiritual development lessons. But my dad died 2 years, coming up 2 years ago. Um, Basically, I was struggling to grieve for him, and I had a session with a medium from the UK. He's well known, absolutely amazing guy called Craig Morris. He's also been on the show, and to be quite honest, I've always been skeptical of mediums. It's He blew my mind, completely blew my mind. The things he told us, the things like stuff from my past that nobody knows because I'm very private. And like I say, it was like stuff about my dad, argument I had with my dad when I was 16. He taught us about that. He taught us the last words I said to my dad and how I held him by the wrist, because I've got a reason why I wouldn't have held my dad's hand, but I held him by the wrist and what I said to him, everything like that, and who he was with, down to the names of an uncle that died years ago, even my uncle's job. Like I say, this guy was amazing. Like since then, I've had two readings with him, and I've been to see him do demos twice. So I'm hoping to get him on the show shortly, because like I say, he completely blew my mind with the things that he knew. So he gave me faith in like some mediums are real. But like as you say, there's loads on TikTok and stuff like that constantly in your inboxes. They do it on Instagram as well. Saying, "Oh well, we can feel your energy," the same thing, or they try to pretend that other mediums are well known. But like I say, real mediums, like you say, they do not contact you. They don't chase for readings. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
And I had readings done with one of my friends that's a medium, April Bousset, and she lives in New Jersey. I live in Texas. So for everyone in the UK, in terms, I live on the southern part of the United States in the center. New Jersey is the upper northeast. So we are like at least probably 2,000 miles apart.
Yeah,
So never seen each other, never never like got together and talked. But she could pick up, like you were saying, stuff about me that I hadn't talked about with anybody, or something I had just decided that day. She would
yeah,
tell me, "Oh, you're going to be doing this," and I was like, "I just like 10 minutes ago was deciding that." And my other friend that's a medium, her name's Phoenix Jansen. I've investigated with her, and I haven't had a reading by her, but I can feel the energy. And when she's doing her thing, I can feel the resonance. And it's like everything I get from her is like genuine, and there's no like motive behind it. She just gives what she gets.
yeah,
And she doesn't just say, "Oh, I'm getting this." She then proceeds to go further to try and get, like, for example, we had a spirit give us an EVP of having a military background. So then she would start to formulate all her questions around the military to try and get answers to validate what he said. And so that's why I trust her, is because, I mean, you walk into a location that has military background in the history, and you say, "Oh, I'm picking up on military." Well, that can be expected. Or you can be like, "Well, are you though, or are you just saying that because we're there?" But I've never gotten that from her, and so I've even had her on a show that I just finished up last year, podcast show, and it's just amazing what these two that I know are mediums, and I've come across some other ones that I've investigated with, but I'm not as close with them. But I still investigate with them, and I really haven't come across, while investigating, a medium that I would say, "Yeah, you need to stop advertising, what you're doing, because this ain't right." But I mean, like you said, they're more on social media than in person, and I think that's the difference. In
yeah.
person, they know you can call them out real quick, and
Mm-hmm.
that'll be the end of it. But online, it's easier to hide.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I mean, even over here, there's some mediums. I don't know if it's the same as what it is over there. Even there is a couple of mediums that like go around bad mouthing other mediums and stuff like that, saying that they're not real, and basically because they believe in this or they believe in that, they're not doing it right. And it's like they shouldn't be really bad mouthing anybody. So the kind of people I would stay away from, because it's just all negativity, if you know what I mean.
Right,
It's not right. You know what I mean? Everybody's got to do their own thing. So I mean, it judges by obviously the comments and the reviews that they get, how good they are. So like I say, it's like nobody's got the right to call other people out and say the fakes or whatever because they've got different beliefs and stuff like that. You know?
right. And the thing also that I like with the mediums that are closest to me is like April and Phoenix and some others that I know. I talk to them online over Facebook and have regular conversations. It's not always based around this or that. and we treat each other with respect, and we don't badmouth anybody or anything. And if you know
Yeah.
something we don't agree with, they can approach me or I can approach them and say, "Hey, I'm having a bad feeling about this," and they'll tell me right then and there, "Oh yeah, you're having a bad feeling because of this or that or maybe
Yeah.
that." And it's like you don't feel like, oh, there as long as I'm paying for service, they'll help me out. It's like we're actually are friends, and so and we and I think that's the important thing is when you're dealing with people who say they have gifts and are like, yeah, we should keep in touch and everything. Watch the actions, watch how much they want to keep in touch, because if they start, saying like, oh yeah, we should keep in touch, and then it's like 6 months and you hear nothing, but you message them, I would start to say, wait a minute, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And I understand, people get busy, but still, it's like, I start to look and go, you know, what's going on here? Whereas if I write someone a message and say, hey, Happy New Year, and they write Happy New Year, I'm like, hey, that's cool.
Hmm.
You,
Yeah.
you, we're keeping in touch. We said what we were going to do. We're honoring each other's words, and the actions match, so we're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. Um, the basically, but getting back to the medium that I was talking about before, Craig. I've got an investigation with my team that I was doing on the 16th of January. It's been booked in since Halloween, but the venue was having a little bit of issues, so we had to find a different venue. So Craig and his manager are coming up for the 16th, and I'm not going to disclose the location just yet because I don't want him to know where it is. We've actually got a producer from a studio that wants to film where as well. So basically, he says it could possibly be on Amazon Prime. So he's coming along as well. So I want the element of surprise for when Craig gets there, so he doesn't do any research on the place to see what he picks up. And he's from
Right.
down south of England, well, he's from Birmingham, but Doncaster he's living in, and so he's travelling up overnight, and they're going to be staying at my house for the night. So, like I say, I'll be taking them there, and they won't know exactly where we're going. So we'll be surprising them, seeing what he picks up on, and I've got no doubt he's going to be absolutely amazing at this.
Are you going to
So
blindfold them in the car?
I don't think I would need to because the area where it is, it's like it's not really signposted or nothing like that. There's nothing to say where it is. So I mean, there's a lot of locations that we could have probably went to. Obviously, with us having so much history, but like indoor locations, it's very very hard to get because nowadays people are charging an absolute fortune for like obviously to rent out the space for to do paranormal investigations now. They're
Right.
not doing it for the actual investigation or the research or nothing like that, which my team is about and others are, I know. But it seems to be like a competition of all paranormal investigations. Not all, but some, to try and like, there's some that want to make money out of it and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's completely up to them. But however, we're in it for the research. So it just sort of hikes the prices up for everybody else, really. But I mean, I get on with quite a few teams in the UK and stuff like that. So I try and keep it like civil with everybody instead of like having competition with people because just no need for it really.
Right.
I think there's plenty of stuff around here for everybody. So there's no need to be in competition with anybody. So
Oh,
what's it
that's
like?
and the difference for you is like, you could blindfold them, but like you're saying, there's so many places around
Mhm.
that he might be thinking about one location. You're like, nope, we're going to this one. So it's like it'd be different here as because there's fewer here
Yeah.
that you could start going up the road and they're like, oh my god, we're going to such and such, and it's like, yep, we're not there yet, but you figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we definitely won't figure out this location, so I'm just glad that I managed to get something short notice. But one of my team members can't make it, so I've had to get somebody else to step in as well. My team basically consists of myself and my best friend Leslie, who was used to come on to some of the shows with Stephen. She's like my partner in crime. We do everything together. So obviously she can't make it that night, so I've had to get my other friend Daryl. He's the Reiki master to step in as well. And I've got my son-in-law Simon. And the reason why he's part of the team for is because he's amazing with tech. So he sets up the cameras and stuff like that. But he's also a skeptic, a stone cold skeptic. He does not believe in the paranormal whatsoever. I do think it's good to have like that sort of balance on your team. Like have somebody that's like skeptical, especially when other people are believers, if that makes sense.
It is because if you like the debate of between dust and orbs, it's like it's great to have
Yeah.
that because it keeps everybody, on their toes of, reviewing is this or isn't it?
Yeah.
And it keeps us more honest. And I like that because in a field that where we're trying to bring awareness to the field and saying, we're legitimate, we're really in this for, like you're saying, the science and the
Yeah.
evidence and everything. If we just start calling everything, it's going to be like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like all of that's going to go out the window because they're going to be like, not to talk ill of a show, but like Ancient Aliens, where Giorgio Tsoukalos with the hair
Yeah.
came out and everybody makes the memes about him because he would say, I'm not saying it's aliens,
But it's
but it's
aliens.
aliens. So it's like, that's why I say with us, it's better when we have the skeptics because it's like, yeah, we're not saying it's this because it may not be this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm a member of the SPR, which is the Society of Psychical Research, and basically they've got certain like standards of how you investigate, and they want it done all the scientific ways, and you've got to rule out everything. Like you've got to have like air pressure quality, air quality meters. Like obviously check for air pressure, and everything's got to be recorded from like virtually every angle. I mean, Drew, me old team leader, he's more involved with doing it that way. I still obviously go with the old equipment that everybody else goes with. Obviously, my SLS camera and night vision camera, REM pods and stuff like that, and spirit boxes. But like I say, it's I've got some experiments as well that Drew designed himself, which I've acquired. I was really excited to use. We did use it in my last investigation that I did on Halloween, but nothing really happened with it. It's one of them is basically a self-propelled Ouija board where it's got magnets on the bottom and rollers, and it pumps out electrical and magnetic like pump thing. So in theory, Ouija boards you're meant to be able to touch them, and the spirit supposedly uses your energy to move it. Whereas with this, it shouldn't need to touch it, so it should move on its own. So up to now, it's never moved. So it's quite interesting to see if it actually does in the future. So I still take it to locations, but yeah, a lot of people don't like using Ouija boards. Even my best friend, she didn't want to get in the car with it when I picked it up.
Yeah,
But what's your thoughts on them?
I understand that Ouija boards are a tool and they do have benefits. So, on that aspect, I am, open to it.
Mhm.
But I don't like how people just look at it as a game and say, well, I took it out of the box, I followed the directions, and then at the end, I
Yeah.
just put it back in the box. I'm like, well, for one, you opened a portal. Putting it in the box doesn't close that portal. It's not actually a game.
Hmm.
And so when people start misusing it, that's when I'm like, this is why we can't, use this because not everybody is aware of it, and intention drives a lot of it. And so if you're using it on an investigation, you can have the best intentions, follow all the rules, and then you'll have one or two that are like, oh, this is a game and just joking around. Well, as much as you're closing it, they're keeping it open,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So whatever's coming through can stay put. And you just brought something in and left it there, which I don't think is appropriate for investigators to do.
Mhm.
And so I don't use Ouija boards because I don't know that everybody around will have the same respect of it, of closing the portal and making sure everything's gone and clean when you're done. So that's my take on those. Is I don't personally use them, but
Mhm.
as long as they're used properly, I don't see a problem with other people using them.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Um, Touching on, obviously we've touched on paranormal and ghosts and stuff like that. So, what's your thoughts on things like UFOs and Yetis or Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the other paranormals, the cryptids? What's your thoughts on them?
So UFOs, I'm a firm believer. Um, hey Eli, I actually was on his show. He was one of my first paranormal interviews. So hey Eli, as for UFOs, I'm a firm believer because I have seen UFOs in the sky, and I have seen things in the sky that I can't explain. Like, for example, one encounter I had was I walked out of my parents' house, looked up in the sky, and it's a partly cloudy day, and all of a suddenly, behind one single cloud is bright yellow lights, bright red lights, and they start mixing. But it's
Wow.
not like it doesn't look like lightning, and it's only one cloud amongst like 10, 20 clouds.
Wow.
So my first thought is this has got to be like a UFO battle because it looks like a battle.
Hmm.
It's above the clouds.
Wow.
Can't see the crafts, but you can see what looks like maybe an explosion blast versus just something missed.
Hmm.
And so I went and got my mom, and she went and saw it, and it was like, yeah, it was behind one cloud. So I've never seen lightning ever be one single cloud
Right.
amongst many. So that's why I've had with my personal experiences, I believe UFOs are real and they're out there. And as for all those that say, well, how did they get here with, you know, we don't have that kind of technology. If they're hovering in space, they have the technology to use wormholes and
Yeah.
gates to travel much faster than we do.
Yeah.
Our day is coming. We're just not there yet.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, as for me with the UFOs and stuff like that, I do believe my mum and dad had an experience. It was meant to be the night I was conceived, actually. There was other people in the bar that had seen this cylinder-shaped object. I've been contacted by somebody recently who happened to see the same thing, but didn't know that my parents had seen it. He was just telling us about his experience, and we figured out that it was around about the same time as my mum and dad had theirs. And so they've had their experience. My daughter thinks she's seen something a few years back in the sky, but she can't be 100% certain because she thinks she might have fell asleep and dreamed it, so she can't remember if it was a dream or she actually seen it. But I mean, I definitely believe, but I also do believe that our military has got like a hell of a lot more tech than what we even could imagine. I
Right.
mean, they're so far forward. I mean, I've got friends that work in the military and they've said that we're light years away from what the public know. So,
And I will agree. I have friends that we were talking about the secret space program
Hmm.
and how we have crafts that are operating in space, but what's known to the public, yeah, we don't have anything that can travel or maneuver out there other than the space shuttle that, I mean, come on. It took us 40 years before we figured out how to retrieve and reuse the rocket modules to propel it up. Something's wrong with that picture. I think we were told not to slow it down and not be so quick in
Yeah.
revealing what we can do because I
Hmm.
mean, you see how cell phones advance,
Oh
TVs
yeah.
advance, computers, but yet
Yeah.
our rocket science couldn't
Hmm.
advance.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. Anyway, I've just noticed time's getting on anyway. So I was just wanting to know what you've got coming up in the next few months. What's your next investigations that you've got coming up?
So I'm actually leaving tomorrow to go to Ballinger, and I'll be investigating with some friends in Phoenix, the medium I was talking about.
Right.
And we're going to be at the Old Park Hotel, and we're going to do the Old Runnels Jail. So I have that tomorrow. Then next week, I have a podcast show, The Energy That Surrounds Us, with Carla as my co host. Then the following week, we'll be back with our guest, Andy Booth,
Yeah.
for this show. And then at the end of the month, at Christmas, we gave away an investigation of Fort Walters in Mineral Wells. So I will be on that with Steven and Catherine were our two winners.
Right.
So that'll be exciting for me.
Yeah. That does sound exciting. With me, the only thing really I've got coming up at the moment is the investigation on the 16th with the second medium Craig Morris and the rest of my team, Jodie Supernatural Research. Had to think of the name there. Couldn't remember. Having one of those days today.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. That investigation may be on TV, so
Yeah,
that's not discount that. That's
yeah.
pretty cool that you're getting that experience.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Like I say, should be an experience anyway because the location that we're going to has had lots of things happening. I've had an experience there. I'm not going to tell where I've got something on social media with an experience I've had, which I shouldn't really say that. But like I say, it's going to be pretty interesting anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah, apart from that, I've got two radio shows that I'm doing this weekend. So I think one's on Saturday and one's on Sunday. I can't remember the names of everybody who I'm doing them with. And then I've got another podcast this month. I think it's the 18th, with Scott Matheson, who commented before. So we're going to be delving into like the histories and the paranormal and everything else like that. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, the next one's not until March. So that's what I've got coming up. But I'm looking forward to speaking to Andy on the show next week. That should be fun.
Not
Obviously,
next week, in 2 weeks.
oh, 2 weeks. Sorry, yeah, 2 weeks. Totally, I haven't got my brain on this
Woo!
today. Oh, never mind. I'll get there.
No, and for those of you who want to get to know us more, I'm found on Facebook. I got a TikTok channel that's somewhat new, so I don't utilize it too much yet, but that's coming about. And I have a YouTube channel, which is my shirt. It's advertising the logo, and Kell can be found on TikTok and Facebook. And where else can you be found?
I've just started a YouTube channel as well, so I'm on there as well. But I've got two TikTok accounts. One's paranormal.kell and the other one is just Kell Ridley. I don't really put much on at the minute, just stupid videos. As I said to Michael, I'm very camera shy, so that's the reason why I do the TikToks to help with that. And obviously now I'm doing this as well to help. So yeah.
So, thank you to Eli for sharing our show out. We appreciate it.
Hi,
Uh,
Courtney.
Thank you to everyone that came in and was in the chat group. We appreciate you all.
Yeah.
And let's see, how should we end this?
I don't really know. I've never had to do this. I usually used to leave it up to Stephen, so you're more experienced than me, so I'll let you finish it off.
Well, I don't know if I can match Steven in his really cool ways, but for me, I would just say thank you all for joining us. Happy hunting. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.